into a barn. They invoke Chinatown with they've got these clippers. There's a scene in Chinatown, of course, where they slice the guy's nose, and that's what they're referring to. But they cut him loose and tell him that it was a warning before they release him, and also mention Ava because they know who Ava was, and that they say something about it. Oh, if you thought giving us a false name was going to stop us, you're crazy. So we now know that potentially Ava's in trouble, and we get a clip of Ava answering her door to find Avery Markham and Ty Walker there, wanting to have a chat with Ava. So let's see. Oh, there's a conversation. I thought this was an interesting conversation between Raylan and Luther. They talk about parenthood, and Raylan explains how futile Luther's gesture is, right? His little act of noblesse oblige, he says, how futile it is. And Luther says, hey, look, you've got a kid that's barely a reality to you right now, but you'd still do anything for her. And that doesn't change when they get older. And it's an interesting sort of foreshadowing to a show that doesn't exist yet, I thought. So, we've got Willa as a supporting character in City Primeval. So there may be a couple of points where we're going to flash back to this conversation that Raylan and Luther have and remember it interestingly. So
yeah, that's a good point.
But all right, so we've got Ava and Markham at the dinner table, and they're having a conversation when Boyd comes in, and Boyd is not pleased to see them in the house, but he's also very confused because he doesn't know who Avery Markham is, or he doesn't know who the person is who's sitting at the dinner table until he identifies himself as Avery Markham, and we have a clip of that.
Nice to meet you, sir. My name is Boyd Crowder.
We've met.
Well, in that case, I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage.
My name's Avery Markham. Guess I can't blame you for not remembering. Last time I saw you, you were no bigger than a minute. 9, 10 years old. Peacocking around your daddy like you thought you was already a full-grown bad man.
I recognize you now, Mr. Markham. That being said, I still don't recall being bounced on your knee. Nevertheless, it seems that I owe you an apology.
Like I said, I can't blame you for not remembering.
No, sir. The apology that I owe is for my craven attempt to pilfer that which rightfully belongs to you. As defense, I offer only my ignorance.
Meaning you thought you were stealing from Calhoun?
Yes, sir. I did.
And now you know the prize in question belongs to me.
That I do. And any plan that I had for my next attempt should be considered abandoned as foolhardy, not to say unworthy.
I hope you'll understand when I say I don't want to see either of you at the portal again. Next time you want a slice, order in. Have it here in 30 minutes or it's free. And if I see you in my place of business again, I'll kill you. Come to it. I guess you ain't all that big now. Grown. But still just playing pretend.
I want to know why Markham felt the need to say that last part, right?
Yeah, it's like just like sticking a finger in his eye as he's leaving or something.
You've already made your point. He's got to thrown himself at your feet and ask for forgiveness. And now you're going to tell him that you're still just a pretend gangster. Like you don't have the balls to rob me. That's not, if you know who Boyd Crowder is, he's not going to take that well.
Yeah. It's maybe it's just to establish what kind of guy Markham is, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's so much menace in what Markham says, but he's still sort of this jovial guy. He says like half of it with a smile sort of guy. And then just to be so petty at the end like that was really surprising to me. It took me back a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and it's interesting seeing Boyd really just throwing himself at his mercy, really, like just, I apologize, like profusely, basically.
Yeah. Well, you get this moment where he's shaking his hand and he introduces himself as Avery Markham. And you get this, I mean, again, Walton Goggins delivering a masterclass in acting here. You get this flash of recognition in Boyd's eyes. That's sort of accompanied by panic, right? At the same time, like, oh, holy shit, this guy, he's a legend. And he's like, what am I going to do? How do I get out of this situation? But Boyd speaks so deliberately and just barely above a whisper in so many scenes. And I've always kind of thought like sort of Boyd's speaking style is to add an extra syllable into almost every word that doesn't have it, just because of the way he speaks so deliberately. But he does add an extra syllable into Avery. He calls him Avery Markham instead of Avery Markham, which I thought is I think he's the only one who does it in the show, and we hear that when. In the next scene, when he has a conversation with Wynn and Catherine, and so Wynn and Catherine or Wynn is tanning in his suite when Boyd calls and says, "Hey, I need a meeting, and by the way, get me a room at the hotel because for Ava and I we're going to spend the night." And Wynn thinks Boyd might be coming to show it down. And so he tells Mikey to make sure you take his cigarettes, which is a little callback to last season and the unfortunate demise of one picker. But Boyd gets there and he is angry with Catherine because she didn't tell him that they were stealing from Avery Markham. And Catherine explains why, sort of. It's basically that the answer is that she didn't tell him because she didn't want to tell him. But Wynn is absolutely fantastic. You hear him a little bit towards the end of this clip that I'm about to play. But during the conversation between Boyd and Catherine, we get a couple of cuts away to Wynn's reaction. He's sitting there in a bathrobe, having just come out of the tanning bed, drinking ice water out of a straw and just looking like he's eating popcorn on the sidelines watching this conversation take place. It's such a great sort of reaction from Wynn.
I like what he like. I think he's wearing like a women's underwear or something like that while he's in the tanning bed.
He's wearing like
a G-string.
It's like one of those paper G-strings, that you wear when you go to like the tanning booth or to the spray tan place. They give you that. Jeez. He really wants that all over glow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely we've seen a lot of allusions to the fact that Wynn might be gay, right? I don't think, having watched all 6 seasons of this show, I don't think there's any question that Wynn is gay. Do you? Oh, did I
think that sorry. There it goes. I was gonna say I think that they're like. I mean, he's very well groomed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just signs. So yeah,
women's tennis, his close relationship with Mikey.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there's any question.
I don't think there's any question about it. I do like that it's not. I do like that they very deliberately didn't make it a storyline. They didn't make it overt, but they sort of implied it. And I wonder what the reaction to that is in organized crime circles. Like, I feel like Quarles kind of saw a little bit of a kindred spirit in Wynn in that regard. And that's maybe why he got along with him so well during the season when Quarles was around.
Yeah.
But they haven't made it a thing. But they've also been very deliberate about not showing him with women ever. Like he never has had a girlfriend. He's never had a prostitute in his Winnebago when Raylan shows up or anything like that. Right. Yeah. We've seen that with Calhoun. We saw that with, what's his name? The Kentucky, the guy who was in the Dixie Mafia and tried to get out. I can't remember, but he had the great accent.
Oh yeah. Oh, we even saw it with the Judge the Hammer.
Yeah, exactly. He had the woman in his car. Yeah, so yeah, we've seen, and even he has, he has the Speedo under his robe and the whole thing, and so it's like, oh, wait a minute, is he gay? Is he not? No, he's not. He's but yeah, I'm convinced that Wynn is gay, and it doesn't matter. I just think it's an interesting sort of character feature for a guy who's in organized crime in the South, right? To be a gay man.
Well, remember they had that whole thing with, and we've talked this more than a couple of times in The Sopranos, where is Vito Spatafore?
Vito Spatafore,
yeah, and he, but they made it a big plot line.
Yeah, they did the whole Johnny Cakes diversion in season 6, where he was, like 2 or 3 episodes of that. So
yeah. So I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting aspect, and who knows? Maybe he has to hide it a little bit. Like at least I'm talking about Wynn.
Yeah.
Keep it on the down low because of where he is and what
he probably. I think he would have to. Right. Again, I think it's one of those things where they're forgiving about it as long as they don't know about it. It's sort of like the 90s in the military, right? Don't ask, don't tell. We're not gonna. Yeah. You're not going to tell us. We're not going to ask, but don't be overt about it. Is kind of the policy, it feels like. And I think that's the policy that Tony was advocating for in The Sopranos.
What? Oh yeah, you know what? I think you're right, because but eventually it got things came to a head, right?
Phil,
is that right? Yeah. Phil. So
Phil was always the problem. But so we have a clip of that conversation with Catherine, and this will round out our clips for the episode. So let's listen to that.
I found the money. Might have found it a whole lot sooner. You've been straight with me from the jump.
You want a drink, Boyd?
I want to know why you didn't tell me we were robbing Avery Markham.
Wynn, drink?
I'm rehydrating.
I was worried if I told you might not take the job.
Because of Markham's reputation? Or because he used to be your husband's partner?
He was much more than that.
Well, that sounds like a story.
It had its moments.
Well, as a man with a keen regard for history, I'd normally be more than happy to hear it. But right now, Catherine, I find myself more concerned with the present.
Meaning?
What is your relationship with him now?
No offense, Boyd, but if I really wanted to set you up, I'm sure I could find an easier way.
That ain't what I asked.
I'm sleeping with him. That's how I knew he was moving back into Kentucky. And that's how I knew to put you onto his realtor.
Huh. Woman, how do you see this playing out in your mind? You think he's not gonna put it together that you were in on ripping him off? Avery Markham's not a man to sit still while someone takes what's his. Let them go live the good life somewhere on his dime.
So you're out, right? That's what you're saying? I mean, let's just set aside all this poetic, down-home, hillbilly bullshit. Bottom line is you're backing down.
Oh, I ain't backing down. I'm gonna rob him. And then I'm gonna stick a bullet in your boyfriend's head.
You know what, Boyd? From the moment I met you, I just knew you were the man of my dreams.
Yeah, so Boyd's going to continue to rob Avery Markham, and then he's going to kill him. And seemingly, that's exactly what Catherine wants. And we're not sure exactly why at this point, but we do find out why she might want Avery dead. So.
Yeah, it's a great, because there's so much said here that's like hinted at, and it just draws you into the story as far as like, okay, so what exactly? Because we still really don't know that much about Mrs. Hale or Miss Hale.
We do not know, and we don't know why she might want Avery Markham dead. We don't know why she wants to steal his money when she could just, have a relationship with him and have the access to the money, right? It's interesting. There's a lot of questions and not a whole lot of answers coming out of this. And Boyd is as perplexed as anybody, I think.